Skill 17 says, Carlos rolled a die and kept a tally of the frequency or number of times the die landed on an odd or even number. Complete the table, then answer questions 1 through 5. So we have 5 questions about this frequency table. A frequency table just means, or just talks about, how many times something happens. So like they said, Carlos got some dice, he started to roll them. Or sorry, it says die, so he had 1 die. And he was rolling it. And if it came up an odd number, he put a mark in the odd number, a tally. If it came up even, he put a mark or a tally in the even numbers. They have some blank spaces here that we have to figure out. So it says for the odd numbers, what's the frequency? All we have to do is count the tallies. Now if you've ever seen tally marks, they usually make them in groups of 5. And you can tell you have a group of 5 because you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines standing up and 1 line going across. So there's your group of 5. So there was 5, another 5, which means 10, another 5, which means 20, or sorry, 15 first, skipping over something. Another 5, which means 20, and then 2 by themselves. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22. So on the frequency, we're going to put 22. That's how many times when he rolled it, it came up with an odd number. 22 times. And now we're going to do the same thing with the even numbers. 5, another 5, so 10, another 5, 15, and then 4 on their own. Yes, Kylie.
It's kind of weird that, you know how 22 is not odd? It's supposed to be on, I thought it was going to be odd, but it's even because the frequency is even, but the number is on odd.
Hey, you're right. That is pretty weird. The frequency of the odd numbers is an even number.
Yeah. And then for even, it's going to be an odd number.
Let's see. So 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You're right. It's kind of like it's backwards, huh?
Yeah.
So the frequency of the even numbers is an odd number, and the frequency of the odd numbers is an even number. But 22 times it was odd, 19 times it was even. And now we have our questions. Question number 1. How many times did Carlos roll the die? So they want to know how many times he actually rolled the die. Not how many times was it even or odd, how many times did he roll it? So they want to know the total number. What operation can I use to find a total number? Nakai? Adding. So we're going to take the odd numbers, the frequency of the odd numbers, 22, and I'm going to add the frequency of the even numbers, 19. 22 plus 19. What's 9 plus 2? Alexa?
11.
11. Okay. I'm going to put a 1 and carry a 1. What's 2 plus 1? What is 2 plus 1? Violet? Three. And then we can't forget, we also carried over a 1. So Violet, what's 3 plus that extra 1 we carried over? 4. So how many times did he roll the die? He rolled it 41 times. Question 2 asks, how many times did Carlos roll an odd number? Well, for this one, I could just use my table. I want to look at just the odd numbers. How many times did he roll an odd number? Who can tell me? How many times did he end up rolling an odd number? Messiah? 22 times. All right. How many times did Carlos roll an even number? So who can tell me, using our frequency table here, how many times did he roll an even number? Jaylene?
19.
He rolled an even number 19 times. Okay. Question 4 says, how many more times did he roll an odd number than an even number? How many more times did he roll an odd number than an even number? So this time they want me to compare the odd and the even and figure out how many more, how much more. What operation could I use to do that? Noah?
Subtraction.
Subtraction, you're right. So I'm going to, instead of adding 22 and 19, I'm going to subtract 22 and 19. 22 minus 19. 2 minus 9. What's 2 minus 9? Violet. What's 2 minus 9, Violet? I have to borrow. Very good. Violet, take your hand. Kiss your brain. Very good job. You didn't fall for the trick. You can't do 2 minus 9. You have to borrow. So I'm going to borrow from my tens place, my other 2. If I borrow from my tens place, the 2 is going to turn into a 1. And my 2, the one in the ones place, is going to turn to 12. I have 12 minus 9. Who can tell me what is 12 minus 9? Kylie, what's 12 minus 9?
It is.
I think maybe his wife has something to do with the toucan.
3.
3. And thank you for taking the time to double check that in your head. Very good job. 3. And what's 1 minus 1?
0.
0. Okay. So how many more times did he roll an odd number than an even number?
3.
3 more times.
3 more times.
Okay. Question 5 says, what fraction of the total times rolled was odd, and how many, or what fraction of the times rolled was even? So they want fractions. So I'm going to put 2 lines here to set up my fractions. How many times did Carlos roll the die? We figured that out earlier. How many times altogether did he roll that die? Kylie?
You gotta move it down.
Like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wait, so what did you say?
How many times did he roll the die altogether, the total number?
41.
41. So 41 is going to be my denominator. That's how many times Carlos sat there and rolled the die. 41 times. And it's going to be the same for my other fraction. 41 times.
Oh, now I did something weird again.
Now my numerator, my top number. While he was rolling the die,
1,
how many times did it pop up an odd number, Kylie?
22.
22. So my first fraction is 22 out of 41. Thank you, Kylie. And who can tell me for my other fraction, what should my numerator be? How many times did the die pop up an even number? Kaylee?
19.
19. So my numerator is 19. So this is my odd fraction, and this is my even fraction. My odd fraction is 22 out of 41, because 22 times out of 41 times it was odd. And my even fraction is 19 out of 41, because 19 times out of 41 times it was even. So frequency tables look a little weird, but they're not super difficult. Usually they'll use tallies to tell us how many times something happened, or sometimes they'll use pictures. It just depends on the table.